and see what happens.
Yeah, on my side it says it's streaming live on YouTube.
See what happens. All right, hello everybody.
We are live.
We're going back to Zoom. We're live on YouTube.
Yeah,
So,
on my side it says it's streaming live on YouTube.
oh, hang on. Hang on a second.
All right, hello everybody. We are.
So, man, all right, now I'm back. I'm going to go gallery view. We're still figuring out technical difficulties here. So, I apologize.
I'm totally sorted on my end.
You're not totally sorted. Stop. So, I'm going to go to the live feed. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. So I know I had one scheduled and I thought I could just put the Zoom information in and make it work. So yeah, I couldn't. So anybody who's watching, if they could bounce back over to the other one that was scheduled and tell everybody to come over to this one. I'm going to get it figured out. Okay.
Practice makes perfect.
I think 40 plus.
Increases the challenge.
We can, 40 plus, and we get some, like, there's some kind of get out of jail free card or something, I think. Oh, whoa, wait a minute, bro. What are you doing, dude?
There's a hard open.
You're going early. What are you going with? LaCroix. That's low rent, bro. Waterloo.
Key lime, dude. I stick with the original. If it ain't broke, I don't fix it.
All right, so we're going here. We got 33 people watching. I'm not sure how it worked, but I guess it did. So I'm going to be looking over here at the people. So we got Tony, Gino, Oliver, Peter Ward says, "What's up, Robin Rich?" Throwing that out with a beer. Hi, everybody. Alexis got his Fazari yesterday, and I helped him take the plunge. So
hey, now,
very happy I could do that. Alexis, I'm stoked for you. It's a great bike. So welcome everybody. And I just got the notification on my phone that that we're going live. We're live on YouTube right now. Did you know that? It just started. In addition to this one. So
we're doubling.
No, it's not happening. So I don't know, but either way, there's 37 people on here watching. I think they're okay. I think they're going to give us some grace on this one, and we'll get it figured out. We'll sort out the details, but it doesn't matter because what I said is we're going to do one a week, and we're doing one a week. So we're back. We will get this figured out. Like we'll get a cooler background. We'll get.
I feel like I was previously the weak link, and I made a little investment. Today, so it's getting better.
Whose YouTube are we on right now?
We're on your YouTube.
So don't talk about. I thought you were trying to say I'm the weak link.
No. I said I've been the weak link. I feel better that I've made some investment.
Oh, okay. Show us. So you got a really cool webcam.
I got the blue snowball mic.
Very cool. Yeah. You got to get that thing sitting up a little bit higher so
you can see it.
So like, hello. testing, proper modulation. Don't be an idiot, moron. So Michael said I loved having the official notice. I tried to give an official notice, but it didn't seem to work too well. So let's jump into this. I think we're going to figure out kind of a format how to do this, but
are these headphones off-putting to anybody? Because it's
Thursday.
Great.
No,
it's great on my end. I can hear really good.
No, I don't think it's bad. So somebody said great job on the race, Rob.
Thank you very much. It was very difficult.
So I'll tell you what, what's that?
It was very difficult.
Very difficult.
It took a lot out of me.
In a second. If you want to do what I'm doing, if you go on your phone, you can bring up YouTube, turn the volume down, and you can set it up on your computer.
Okay.
And you'll see what's going on. I don't know if that's a good thing because you're going to kind of be like oh, hey, keep looking over at it. You go on your phone, Yeah, turn it down.
Bring up YouTube.
There we go. I think we got it. So I set mine right up on my computer. So when I look at it, it's not too bad. I'm not going like this or like this. Like I can look at it right here. So set it up or get a tripod at some point so you can then see it.
That's what I'm going to do right here, buddy.
And you're using a different camera, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so Thursday, pretty good day so far. I was up editing a video that we shot we shot one for competitive cyclists, but we shot another one that was pretty cool. So I actually got to direct a video.
Oh man, full direction.
Fun. And we did some editing. We had to have some actors. We had some young local kids. So hopefully in a couple of days that one will be live or it'll be edited and we'll give it to the people that we made it for. And we'll see when they decide to post it. But
Tony said he likes my headphones, so I'm stoked.
Headphones are legit. Definitely legit. So this topic that we're going to talk about tonight, overbiked or underbiked, we've talked about quite a bit. And it's something that is very prevalent.
Rob looks like he's ready to call an airstrike.
Yeah.
That's good.
At least you have a little bit more of a smile. So
I was feeling rough that day.
So yeah, let's get into this. We already have one comment that said I'd rather be overbiked. What are your thoughts? Is it that simple? Is it one or the other?
Well, I would have agreed with that statement. My position always had been too much bike is not a thing. I don't care if I'm racing a cross country race. I want 170 millimeters, but
give me the big guns.
Yeah. Dipping a little bit into the smaller bikes, and especially the last couple of years, the improvement, it's certainly now it's quality over quantity for sure. And I think as
Uh-oh. Don't tell me we lost Rob. You're frozen, dude. Can you hear me, Rob? Well, I don't know what's happening there. Damn Zoom. Well, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep rocking it. Hopefully Rob is not, we haven't lost him. Uh-oh. Yeah, frozen. It looks pretty funny on my end because I'm looking at him frozen. I wonder if he'll get it figured out. We'll see. He may. I think what he was saying was now he's maybe he'll jump back in. He's gotten into a little bit more smaller bike and cross country. So for him, the first was the Trail 429, and it was kind of funny. He got the enduro build. So I had a Trail 429. I loved it. And again, to give some context, I've talked about this a little bit. I'm a fan of smaller bikes. And here we go. User, we're going to let him back in. So I'm a fan of smaller bikes. We got the user back.
Wow, man. I don't know what happened there. That was crazy.
Dude, you got an airstrike on you, bro.
Yeah, my computer just rebooted on me.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was very.
Well, it's okay. So we've moved on. So I'm saying I've been a fan of smaller bikes for a long time, and I even raced a 110, 130, 27.5 bike in 2017. I actually won a couple enduros on that bike. So for me,
Gray Matter.
Yeah, it was a giant Anthem Advanced SX. I'm fine for the most part on a smaller bike, and I think that's why it's not a very simple question to answer. So,
well, I think there's a caveat that I would throw in on that.
Okay.
Basically, if you're riding trails you're familiar with, especially rugged trails, you can find places to get that bike off the ground, and you're not going to take a beating. But if you're going to a place where you're unfamiliar,
Yeah.
and the trails necessitate something more, it's going to be a little bit more challenging if you're not a guy who knows how to ride light.
So Michael asked the question, Michael Diamond. He said, if you could only have one bike, what would it be? And he wants to hear both of our answers. So I'm going to let you answer that however you see fit, because I have an answer.
I would say currently, with my available options, if I could have one bike, it'd probably be the Switchblade, because it can punch up and it can punch down. It's an efficient pedaling bike, so I can do big days in the saddle on it without too much trouble, and it's plenty capable to do big stuff where I would normally choose the Switchblade. So,
All right. But that's based around where you're riding.
correct. That's based on the fact that I live at South Mountain and I ride some rugged stuff.
Rugged.
If I lived in Mesa near Hawes, I would probably, my answer to that question would be probably Trail 429.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think where you're at, what you're riding, how you desire to ride, what your skill level is and what your background is, all of that comes.
All contributing factors.
Yeah, there's so many different things. Like from an underbiked, overbiked perspective, I mean, dude, I got both the Epic Evo and the Transition Spur in the garage right now. I can destroy the majority of stuff here in NWA on those two bikes. I think they're great. So those would be great choices. But it's kind of funny because if I had to choose one bike right now, I don't even think it comes into an underbiked, overbiked. I'd choose the Levo. I'm a huge e-bike fan.
So Mark on him made a comment about with cars, sometimes it's funner to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And so I think his analogy is, in that situation, riding a smaller bike in a place where you would otherwise ride a bigger bike. But I think the problem is, just like with cars, if you're driving a Miata and everybody else has a Corvette, you're going to get pretty bummed out. I don't think you can outdrive those guys. There's just too much power there. And so if you're in a place where, I mean, think of like Geronimo shuttles. You can do it on a hardtail if you want, but if you're riding with a group of guys on 170 mil bikes, you're probably not going to have as much fun. And that's the other thing is if you're having to work so hard to get around the fact that you're not on the right bike, and that comes back to the circumstance, then it may not be as fun. But if you're in a situation like most where you can't afford to $5,000 or $10,000 bikes, if you have the small bike, you can ride it in places nowadays because the bikes are so good where you would otherwise want a bigger bike. If you choose the bigger bike, they are efficient enough that you can ride it in a place where you would otherwise choose a smaller bike. So as time goes on and the bikes get better, it's not as critical as it once was, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, dude. John Martinez. Put your right thumb up, Rob, to John Martinez.
Yeah, John. He threw $5 down.
Yeah, that's called a super chat, buddy.
That's awesome.
Welcome to YouTube. So what he says, trails, skills, travel, skills, trails. Yeah. Skill constraint is backstopped by travel. That's a pretty good comment, dude. And it's funny because is that a good thing or a bad thing? And that's the thing. I don't know. Is a bigger bike going to be a backstop for less skill? Potentially. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I also don't think people are in positions where you need to get something that is more efficient.
Like I would say if you're the less precise you are, the bigger bike you want, because it'll let you get away with things that a smaller bike won't.
Yeah.
Smaller bikes, a little more surgical. You've got to be a little bit more cautious and precise with your movements. And if you make a mistake, you can get tossed.
Well, and yeah, the other thing too is T-Dub made a comment there, and I think he said geo is more important than travel. Prove him wrong or something along those lines. I think it's important.
You let him comment on this?
Of course, dude. Of course I let him comment. Again, geometry is going to come into play, but suspension design, kinematics are going to come into play. We've talked about this a lot, especially with the smaller bike. Horizontal shock alignment compared to vertical. A little bit different leverage ratio. So you're going to get a little bit different feel out of those bikes. Isn't that correct?
That's true.
So if you're somebody who's not very precise of a rider, you said, okay, probably a bigger bike.
Yeah.
Now, do you think the pendulum can swing too far there? Now, let's keep dual crown downhill bikes out of this.
Um, yeah, for sure. If you get a bike that's too big and too aggressive and you're in a place where you got to do some technical climbing, it could get a little sloppy. It could become a liability. The bigger they get, the longer the wheelbase gets. And
Okay,
we've talked
great.
about that.
Great. That's exactly what I was hoping you would do. So now, everybody who's watching, dude, we got 81 right now. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
We're going to step into another room for a second, and we're going to talk a little bit about sizing of that bike. So we're not talking about suspension per se. We're talking about, okay, if you want to get overbiked or even underbiked for that matter, regardless of what you're choosing, this could come into play. Is the bike the right size for you to start? Or is it close enough where you can get set up where it should be? Now, I want you to very briefly recap your experience with the Firebird 29 when it came out and highlight this.
Okay. So when I first got that bike, I had been riding the 27.5 Firebird. So that bike was also pretty slack when it came out. So I ran an angle set in it to try to shorten the wheelbase.
Okay, so hang on. Let's not gloss over that.
Okay.
You did what? You put an angle cup set. You made a slack bike steeper?
I did. I took the Phoenix Pivot Phoenix angle set, and I put it in the Firebird and took 3/4 of a degree out of it. And it was a huge improvement. It basically made it feel in the Geo like the new Mach 6 when it came out.
Okay, so
I thought it was a much better handling bike.
How quickly did you do that?
Immediately.
Immediately.
I did it as soon as I figured out it was they had something. They even said Pivot said that they didn't think it would work, but I tried it.
What was your motivation to do that? What number? Head tube angle, right? You looked at the head tube angle.
Yeah, I looked at and not even I'm not a numbers on paper guy. I got the bike and I was like, dude, this thing is troubling.
Yeah.
The wheels were just too it was too much wheelbase even on a medium. And a lot of the trails out here have tight switchbacks, a lot of rocks on either side when you're navigating through things, and you end up hanging up the derailleur. You really have to mind the rear of the bike, and when the front's way out in front of you, it's like you're in two different time zones.
Okay, so just a quick recap. You went, and as did I, to a medium Firebird.
Yes.
So normally run large on everything else in the Pivot lineup.
Yeah.
Decided to go medium based on a couple of measurements, wheelbase being one.
Wheelbase was the biggest one. Even though the cockpit on the medium on paper would seem small, I knew I was going to want to stretch the stem to get my weight over the front wheel.
Okay, so very important factors. So we're talking,
and that's counterintuitive these days because everybody's going short stem, short stem, short stem.
Yeah,
and if you're putting a short stem on because your buddy Joe has a short stem, that may not be the best setup for you, depending on what your bike's configuration is and how you fit on it.
So in stem, the factor of short, long stem comes back into basically how much weight you have over the front.
Yeah, if you picture your upper body like a triangle, if it's closed, it's less stable. If you can open it, it's more stable. And so with your hands being the bottom of one side of the triangle and your feet being the other side, if you can open those up, you have more stability on the bike. And also, as you move either way, you're going to move weight that way, not even intentionally. It's going to move.
Okay. So I think thinking about this here, that's going to come into play because a better setup puts you in a better position, maybe allows you to ride a bike better, be it a longer travel bike or a shorter travel bike. Is that something you would agree with?
I would say, yeah, I would agree with that.
And part of it too, I think it's funny because like when I had my Da Vinci's, I had a large Troy and I had a medium Django, and I put a 55 mil stem on the Django and dug it, put a 40 mil stem on the Troy, and it was still too long and I didn't have my weight over the front far enough. So I had to change the chip on it and run it in the high position to close it up a tiny bit and get a little bit more weight forward. But, having ridden the Django the way I did and then hopped on a large, I thought, man, this is kind of cool. I could have run a shorter stem and still, with the head tube angle as steep as it was, been able to turn that thing and get opened up a little bit more and get a little bit more high speed stability. So I probably would have felt more overbiked on the same bike, just a large, in that scenario.
So I'm riding the large Switchblade, and it's a long bike. So for cockpit reach, it came with a 45 mil stem. I put a 40 on it. I would prefer to have a 55 on it for handling, but it puts the handlebars too far away.
Yeah.
And so I would prefer to be on a medium. I think I made a mistake getting a large, but I've acclimated to it, so it's working.
So Martin asks, what's the longest stem you can use without adversely affecting the handling?
Well, so in 2017, when I rode EWS, I was on this 27.5 Firebird with a 65 mil stem. But when I first raced in 2015, I was on a medium Niner WFO with an 85 mil stem. I actually still have it in my toolbox. It's a novelty. If I knew then what I know now, I would be doing something different. But it worked. I was very successful on that bike with that setup. And Niners are not super slack. They're pretty steep bikes. No. So I was running like an XC configuration on that.
Yeah. Thing. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. So somebody asked, what's the sweet spot in wheelbase? What do you think? And is it that simple of an answer?
I couldn't even hit you with a number. I don't do a lot of analysis on paper from bike to bike. Off the top of my head, I don't think I could even tell you what the wheelbase of any of my current bikes are.
That's funny.
But I know when one's long and I know when one's shorter.
Yeah.
I've got to study up on that.
Yeah. In millimeters, about 1200. The Troy was 1215, and it was a little, that's crazy. It was a little bit long, but dude, the S3 Enduro's like 1226.
Well, I'm not sure what the wheelbase on the large Switchblade is, but when I ran into my friend Ivan, he had a pole.
Yeah.
And it was 3 inches longer wheelbase than my bike.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, it's funny because I think there's other factors involved. Like I was getting to the point where it was like numbers on a computer screen, they mean something, but they don't mean everything. And it was funny because I remember Alex talking to me about the Enduro, and I knew he had an Enduro. And I said, dude, it's like a 63.8 head tube angle. How could you possibly ride that? And he said, dude, it's more. It's a combination of things. And I'll be damned. I got on that Enduro and rode it, and it does not feel like a sub 64 degree head angle, dude. It's crazy.
Well, and I think you can, there's adjustments you can make in your setup to make it not feel that way too. You can run some more sag in the front. You can run the back a little high. So you can make it handle like it's not that slack.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, now you're starting to see more bikes running steeper seat tube angles. Yeah. That seems to be getting a lot more in vogue, and it's funny.
And I like the steeper seat tube. I like a really steep seat tube because when you raise the saddle, it doesn't put you in the back seat. So for technical climbing, my saddle's always slid forward, completely tipped down, and
it does look very goofy.
Yeah, and when the saddle's down, you almost can't sit on it because it's so close to the handlebars. But when it's all the way up, it's configured for climbing.
So let's see, Daniel Ray, thinking about a 2-bike quiver, wanting 2 bikes that could each ride almost everything, but also different enough to justify having 2 bikes. What would you get? I'll tell you my answer, and I had them. That was a Da Vinci Troy and a Da Vinci Django. Loved those bikes, dude. Absolutely loved them. I think the Django was more than cross country capable for massive rides. And the Troy, my only regret in the Troy was that I never had it in an environment that was suited for it. Like,
Give me that question again.
you're going to get a 2-bike quiver. You want bikes that are fairly closely aligned, but justifiably 2 different bikes. So like right now, I mean, dude, what would you say? I don't know. Would you go like Firebird Trail, or
I would either go, well, I would normally have said I'd flip a coin. It would either be Firebird Trail or it would be Switchblade Mach 4.
T-Dub said Rob would get 2 Switchblades.
One to poop on, one to cover it with.
Yeah. That really is, that's a crazy, it's just a hard question to answer. You know, there's so many good bikes. I jumped on the Da Vinci's because I liked those bikes a lot. But, you know, right now thinking about what's in my garage, man, a pretty good choice would be the Levo SL and the Transition Spur. You know, those are 2 pretty good bikes that I think will do really well. You know, Levo SL can punch pretty high, especially with a 36 or a 38 in an X2. And that Spur can do a ton.
Well, the Spur and the, what's the other one?
Sentinel.
The Sentinel. The Spur and the new Sentinel, that's a good looking pair.
Dude, they're amazing looking bikes. And I've only pedaled a Sentinel around in the parking lot, and dude, it felt amazing. So I'm hoping
Transition done a good job on that bike.
I'm hoping to get on one pretty soon. Roman talked about the Commensal Furious, upsized to a large, still use an angle spacer to make it go from 64 to 63.5. Dude, I would love to ride a Commensal. I've never been on one. They look rad. They really do. The new Stumpy Evo too. That's something people are talking about. Looks like a rad bike. I was supposed to be on one. We were supposed to shoot with it yesterday, and it didn't show up. So I got nothing to say about it, but it looks rad, and hopefully I'll be on one soon, and I'll ride it and let everybody know. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things as far as bikes. What does boost mean? I heard Rich talk about it before. Rings a bell.
Width of the
yeah, hub. I'm wondering if that's what he's talking about. It's a John. Yeah, if that's what you're talking about, boost. We're talking about rear hub spacing.
Well, and front too. Nobody talks about it anymore, but they went to wider hub width. The idea is, if these are the spokes, if you can open them up, you get more lateral stability in the wheel. So it requires a lot of adjustments in the chassis to compensate for it. Like with Pivot, with the Super Boost, you know, a lot of people were down on that when it first came out because you couldn't get a lot of parts. Nobody was building wheels, but the idea, the physics of it are proven. It works. I hear people argue about, you know, I saw this study and that study, and I mean, wider is better. That's all I got to say.
Wider is better. You know, I'll give my take on that, and I think there's a difference. I really do. And I think depending on who you are, how heavy you are, how hard you ride, it definitely comes into play. You know,
steep climbs where you're putting down a lot of torque. It's a lot more stable platform.
Yeah, I personally can feel it for me. And there's one distinct scenario where I can feel it quite a bit. And that's when I'm ripping through pretty hard on some trails and manualing through turns. So when I'm manualing through turns, maybe with rollers in them, and I'm really loading the back of the bike, I catch a lot of movement. So there's a couple bikes I've been riding recently that are just boost. They're not super boost. And that situation is kind of scary.
I get a little squirrely on you.
Yeah, I appreciate what the super boost spacing does. It's just a bummer when you have some that are and some that aren't, because you can't swap the cool Industry 9 wheels between the bikes. So yeah, it happens. Peter Ward, I think we might have to remove him because he said one of his bikes would be a Cannondale Scalpel.
with a lefty.
with a lefty, with a
I
half.
like. I prefer the righty.
So Tony asks, where does the Delano Peak fall? I'll tell you what, Tony, love that bike. Great bike. As far as a do-it-all bike, I dig it. I'm still riding it. Like, I love Fazari because they haven't asked for that bike back. So that's one that it's really cool. It's just, it's not something that you're going to pedal anything XC style. So it definitely, I think it's a really, really solid trail bike. It would have been fun to take it to Winter Park just to see. I think with a rugged wheel set, and under the right person, I think it would be pretty rad. But yeah, I love that bike, and I dig those numbers. 135, 150. I'm good with that, especially with what I ride. A lot of the trails I ride. So
Yeah, that's V1 Switchblade numbers. That's a good.
yeah.
That's a good setup.
So Jamie, I like this. Jamie's asking a good question here. His partner's changing stems, her enduro. She currently runs a 40 mil, but the options for the stem she's going, it's either 35 or 50 mil. Best to go forward 10 or back 5.
It depends on her reach. If she can give the room, if she can give the reach, I'd say go longer. I'd rather be more stable than more compact. But if she's already extended, then she may not want to go that way.
So if that's the case, what you can do is go 35 and roll the bars forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be a great way to make up potentially. You have to measure it to see if you can make up for that 5 mil. But either way, I think that would put her hands in a better position.
Yeah, you can also most stems have either a down or an up. The pivot stems are 3 millimeters, I think. And so I usually run it downward, but if you flip it over and stack it, you can get it approximately in the same place, but you can move it
a little bit further back. Yeah.
Or forward, depending on if you go upside down or right side up.
So this is a pretty funny comment. Wormley says Ripley and Ripmo. The only question is, what do you say to your wife when the second one shows up? Yeah. Which is funny.
They must have sent me 2 by accident.
Yeah, they look the same. I've never ridden those bikes. You don't have any time on Ibis at all, do you?
Nope.
Interesting. Yeah, Kevin says Revel, Ranger, and Rascal. And dude, I've
heard good things, man.
After riding a Ranger's rad, or Rascal's rad. Ranger, yeah. I'm sure is.
I've heard good things. They look good. I like the guys who build those bikes. They're good peeps. Yeah. And some cool dudes riding them.
Yeah. Yeah. Martin asked me, do you like the Levo SL better than a higher powered EMTB? Martin, I do not. I prefer
Mark McKinney.
Oh, I didn't even see. I'm trying to catch up. Thanks, Mark. You're the man. Mark's rad.
You're all right, Mark. I don't care what Rich says about you.
Whatever, dude. You need to meet Mark. You'll love Mark. For me, dude, I love the big dog. So I really like the Levo. I like the weight. I like the power. And this is something that we talk about a lot.
Coming from Moto, one thing I enjoyed about the weight or about the e-bike was the weight of the bike. I like to have a little bit more substance under me, and especially jumping.
Yeah. Well, I think Underbiked, Overbiked, these bikes would fall in. So the Levo SL, I'm assuming pretty much everybody understands what we're talking about, but the Levo SL, I describe it as much more regular bike than e-bike. So it's kind of a paradigm shift within a paradigm shift. So e-bike's very popular, but the SL, and I think that genre of bike is going to start to grow quite a bit. I think more companies are going to come out with things like that. And I think it's going to...
I've been surprised that there haven't been already.
They're coming. I know they're coming. It's just a matter of...
I call it like a hybrid MTB.
Kind of. And Martin, here's what I would say is if you've never ridden motocross, never ridden a motorcycle, and you're not at all accustomed to having that much weight below you, the full e-bike at, let's call it 52 pounds, can be a bit unnerving. And until, as a rider, you can rationalize using that weight to your advantage, because when you do that, it's amazing. It's amazingly fun to ride because you're getting a ton of traction. You have a lot of extra weight, and the majority of it is very low. But again, if you try to fight that and you don't change your riding style to adapt to what the e-bike is going to do for you, you're not going to have as much fun as you should. Now, the SL, I don't think is that way. The SL is much more like a regular bike. It feels like a bigger, heavier stump jumper, and it just allows you to do twice what you normally would. So great bike. I love it. Super fun. And it's funny because I've gotten on it before and ridden 15, 20 minutes without turning it on because I forgot. It just feels like a big bike. So yeah, definitely. I like both of them, but I prefer the regular Levo.
Bo Rogers just threw you a tip. Big Bo.
Oh, dude, look at Roman. So it's so funny. Roman, he's talking about the trestle video. Roman, I apologize, dude. Banana peel was not open. I would have ripped on that if it was open, but he said that I was going pretty decent. Never seen anyone other than a couple of local pros hit that wall ride. So, dude, that wall ride, that was a last minute thing. Like we came bombing through, and all of a sudden there it was. And I made sure to drive my heels down through the takeoff and get lift and then rotate on that horizontal axis and drop that thing up there for a second. So it was
I rotated on the horizontal axis on the wood.
Oh yeah, dude, you got to get up on the wood. Go full wood.
I spun off the wood in a 360 flat spin.
Yeah,
Top Gun style.
This was a wall ride, dude.
After that wood incident, I didn't want any more wood.
You wanted nothing.
I steer clear of the wood.
Man, this so KAW Cowie 2006 ordered Delano Peak about a week ago.
Says thanks to you.
All the Bazzari rep. That's cool. Yeah. You know what's funny, dude? Without a doubt, that Delano Peak review has had the most action. Like I've literally had the most people say they bought one of them.
They got something out of it.
Or it just helped them make a decision either way. So yeah. Yep, I dig that. Cool bike. I'm glad people like it. Shoulder stretches for a sore shoulder. Rob, you gotta know. So it's, I don't know. Throw some muscle rub on there, some Tiger Balm or something.
Yeah, extra strength Tylenol and a elastic band. Just do a little band work.
Yeah, there you go. Michael asks, love to hear you do some long-term reviews on the bikes. That's the plan, dude. Want to do some long-term reviews. I got a couple that are in the works because I've had some bikes that I've had for a long time. The Delano Peak is going to be one of them. So I'm logging all of that stuff. So Bo Rogers, big thumbs up. Thanks for the expertise. See you on the trail, Rob. So Bo must be in your area, huh?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Bo's one of my homies. He's a regular face out here in Haas.
Nice. Well, I'm excited. October 31st, November 1st. The ride series comes back to Phoenix.
Indeed.
I'm getting fired up, dude. We got a big group, man. It's getting pretty full. So
yeah, if you registered for that, make sure to bring your costume.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be rad. I'm down.
I'm gonna go do a clinic in a Halloween costumes.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring a costume. So we're gonna see. Oh yeah, Bud Productions coming in with the $9.99 super chat. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, Brock.
Yeah, Bud Productions. Yeah, Bud Productions. Brock Wagner, everybody. Brock Wagner is
the man, the myth,
the real man behind the videos. So all the good videos,
all the magic that gets sprinkled on Rich comes from Brock.
YouTube it comes from Brock. So Brock's the man. I appreciate everything he does. He does some cool stuff. So we got a lot in the works. There's a lot going on right now. It's crazy. So hopefully I have more bikes that I can go with underbiked, overbiked, and try to figure it out. So yeah, that's a good topic. I don't know that it's one that we're ever going to deal with. And personal preference is going to come in. You know, it's funny because I'm dealing with it with Sarah. So we've been going underbiked. She started with a Mach 5.5.
Yeah.
And she liked that bike. It was a really good bike for her. And I think that's a really good bike for a lot of people that are new to riding because it's not super aggressive regards to like slack, big bike.
Yeah, it's not crazy in any direction. It's just a really good all around bike.
And she used that bike to get comfortable riding And then I got her a Django. And it was funny because she took off on that Django and she came back a little bit later, just shaking her head saying, wow, like when you pedal it, it just goes. And so it's funny because going from that more trail bike to something that's a little bit more cross country, that was a big difference for her. So now we're in the same boat. So I'm potentially looking at getting her an Epic Evo because she's biasing a little bit more towards cross country. So now I got to get her, I got to find one for her to ride to see, is that the case? Does she like it, or does she prefer a little bit more of a smaller trail bike?
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. Like Jen has a Trail 429.
Yeah. And she seems to like stuff that's a little more technical, like rugged.
Yeah.
She likes descending. So I think that bike's working out really well for her. She probably
So,
could have afforded to be on a medium, though. I got her a small.
okay. Yeah, I bet, dude. Because I thought my large was a little bit small.
Yeah, well, I just added some stem to it.
There you go.
It opened it up a little
Yeah,
for us.
Roman's a character. Roman says he'd like to see me ride the Grim Donut. So, did you happen? And I almost certain I know the answer to this. Did you listen to the podcast? You know about the Grim Donut, right?
I watched the video where Johan Borelli wrote it.
How funny was that, dude?
It was funny, but I like you when you catch the outtakes. That seems to me more realistic about what went down. Like I don't think he really went faster on that bike. I think that was the edit. But
He was
I
on
don't.
the podcast, dude. He came on the podcast
Yeah.
and he talked about it. And it was one of the most entertaining things I've ever heard in my life.
Well, he's an entertaining guy.
He
I
is.
love
He's
that
amazing.
thing. Yeah.
He's absolutely amazing. So I don't know if I'm going to be getting on a Grim Donut anytime soon. So Daniel Ray is asking, how's Bentonville in January and February? Coming from Minnesota, it's a hell of a lot warmer than Minnesota, my man. It's tough to say, dude. Roll of the dice. But honestly, coming from Minnesota, you'll love it. You'll probably ride in shorts and a t-shirt, and there's always something to ride.
Or keep driving and come to Phoenix.
You could do that.
It's always good in the winter here.
So Rob, I don't know if you saw, but Michael's got a pretty good question there. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the Switchblade? So hard to decide, obviously, between several in that category. He's looking at the Ritmo, Switchblade, Delano Peak, Rebel Rascal.
This is what I'll say: is the Switchblade is a great bike. I love the fact that they went to the vertical shock configuration with a rocker. I think it makes the bike better. I loved the original, so it's a completely different bike. So it's not a case of a revamped version of the old one. It's a completely different bike. But I don't have a basis for comparison because I've not ridden any of those other bikes. And nowadays, I mean, it's pretty tough to find a bad bike. There's so many good ones. It's not like anybody's got a secret recipe. The evidence is out there, what works and what doesn't. There's a few companies that are taking risks and doing, what I would say are unusual things that don't, on the surface, don't appeal to me. But for the most part, I look around at some, 20, 30 different bikes, and I think to myself, wow, that looks like it'd be fun to ride. So I would say the way that I look at it is, ride what you can get your hands on to make sure, because it's a big investment. And then, what's your local bike shop? Who's going to support you the best? And what are you going to get the best deal on?
Yeah, I would echo that last statement. I've ridden the Switchblade, the Delano Peak, the Rebel Rascal. They're all great bikes. I haven't ridden a Ritmo, but one of my best friends has one and he likes it. He thinks it's a great bike. And that's what I come back to. If you can ride them to see which one speaks to you. And then it's what sort of deal you can get and what sort of support are you going to get.
Pivot's a good company. That's another thing that I always look at is are you dealing with a solid company that can stand behind the product if there's an issue? And is it, some companies, sometimes things happen and it's really not a warranty issue, but a good company is going to want to make it right because it's the best thing for their brand. But some companies can't afford to do that. Even if they know it's the right thing, they just simply can't afford to do it. And so you end up stuck because you've either got to pay for a crash replacement or you got to buy a different bike. So you definitely want to invest your money in something that's going to be that's going to have some longevity, some resale. That's another thing you don't want to discount is,
Yeah.
what's the thing going to be worth when it's time to move it and get something else.
That's a pretty good one. I hadn't thought about looking at the company and the company's lineage, the company's history, how they're dealing with things. And I think that's an important one. You got to do some due diligence there. I think you got
Yeah,
to
I mean,
do.
ultimately, every company's going to have issues. How do they handle those issues?
Yep.
Nowadays with the internet, you can track down the people who aren't happy, and you can find out why. And some people may be unreasonable and jaded. I've certainly seen plenty of bikes where the damage is obvious. It's not a flaw. It's not a factory defect, and people are trying. They're trying to get paid, and when they can't, they want to be spiteful and say bad things. And so you've got to weed through some of that stuff. But you know,
Yeah.
you can usually the evidence usually tells the story when you dig into it.
That's funny. This begs a question. I'll preface it, but we're not going to talk about it right now. Putting a coil on a bike that may or may not be okay with having a coil on it. So we'll touch that one.
All I would say about that is if it's not like with a pivot, if it's not intended and you break it, they're not going to stand behind it.
You break it, you
Specifically, they will not. So you
break it, you
better you better ensure that the shock company is going to stand behind it.
probably the most important comment that we've seen all evening. Everyone should write to your favorite bike manufacturer and ask them to send Rich bikes to test. If they hear from enough of us, they might do it.
Yeah, there
Martin,
you go.
genius, brilliant. Everybody should do that. All 99 people listening right now, get on Instagram, get on their websites and tell them, I want Rich to ride this bike. I want to know what he says. So I like that. Definitely. This is
I'm
a
in
good
the
one.
market for a bike, and I will not buy it unless Rich tells me it's good.
Yeah, there you go. This is a good one. You're going to like this. Justin Dietrich asks, how important do you think spending time on a hardtail would be for newer riders?
So I would file this in the category just like flats and clips. So what I'll tell you, for me, I have a ruptured disc in my lower back from my motocross career. And as much as I have had fun in the past riding some hardtails, it's brutal on my back. So I really, it's just not an option for me. I think they're really capable, and you can do well. You remember I had that Ross 9, that
Yeah.
Niner Ross 9. It was a super fun bike. I didn't ride it a lot, but every time I did, I thought, why don't I ride this bike more? And then the next day, I'd wake up and I couldn't walk,
Yeah.
and I'd say, well, there you go. That's why I don't ride it anymore.
So he got a little more specific and he asked about loading on a hardtail. So
Well, that's the place where
loading and things like that. It's
I
different.
run my suspension open when I'm climbing, not just like technical climbs, but even just trails with undulation in them. I'm always using my weight and the suspension to get to teeter totter the bike and get it light. And so for me, riding a hardtail doesn't it's not as effective. And some of the most technical climbs, things like the waterfall on National Trail, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody do it on a hardtail ever. And I know I've tried and I couldn't do it. So
Yeah,
it just doesn't have the compliance to me.
yep. Yeah.
Maybe a plus bike or a fat bike, but
So another good question. Candid Vision asks, best way to progress to harder trails? Just dive in and find out, or would you work on particular skills beforehand? Oh, hang on, buddy. Let me get this one real quick here.
okay.
Ease in. Ease in. The basics are the basics, my friend. Diving in, dude, only time you dive in, two things. A pool on a hot summer day,
If it's got a deep end.
if it's got a deep end, and a large pepperoni pizza from the Meteor. You dive into those. You dive in hard. Now, I would say start slow and really think about the basics and get yourself dialed in. Don't just go ripping into something. The problem is you got to build confidence. And when you go kind of blindly into something, you don't build the confidence well. So take your time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And the reason I say that is Cowie 2006 asks how old we are because he's 48. He's curious. I'm 42. I know I don't look it. I know I look 36. Rob, although
I'm 75. I am 49. I'll be 50 in February.
Yeah, so I thought we had covered that. But yeah, 42. and 49. And what's crazy is, dude, how much riding experience do we have between the two of us? I mean, I started racing at 5. You started
1,000 years.
so third. I
Uh,
have 37 years. You have 40.
49. I would say since maybe 5 solid. So maybe 44 years.
Dude, that's
It's a
over
lot.
80 years.
We're creeping up on a
Crazy.
decade of experience. Or I mean a century of
Decade,
experience.
century.
Sorry,
Yeah,
century. Several decades.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I want to go through. What do you think about the Trek full stash with 3 O's and 500 miller reach to someone 6'5", 295? Martin, that's not a bad bike. I know that bike. A lot of
Stash
people.
is a hardtail, isn't it?
Yeah, but they got the plus the 3.0 tires and the dropper,
Yeah.
so it's not bad. I think it's a good bike to start on, but I think
Yeah,
down the
on a if you're gonna ride a hardtail, especially like if you're getting into bike riding, you're going to save a lot of money if you get a hardtail, and if you get one with plus tires. I've always said, if you're riding purely for fun, plus tires are it. I mean, you can't beat that.
yeah,
It's not something I'd race on, and you're not gonna be the fastest guy on the trail, and the tires they've still not gotten as tough as I'd like to see them. The biggest issue I had when I was riding plus tires is I would hack those tires and be walking out of the trail because you cut the sidewall an inch long.
yeah,
There was no plug in it.
yeah. They're
You're
definitely
out there with a needle and thread trying to sew the sidewall back together.
good. So John actually has a great one. Given the scarcity of bikes, how do you advise people shop when their local bike shop racks are empty? And he says he rolled the dice on a 2019 Process 153, and he's happy, which I'm not surprised because I know enough people who've ridden those bikes. Kona makes really good bikes. I think it's tough right now. We're in unprecedented times in regards to buying a bike. And I think
Well,
it's very important for you to do some due diligence as a buyer.
well, it used to always be when the new models came out, and you could pick up last year's model, you would get a great deal on that bike, and usually they hadn't changed enough where like you're getting something that's not applicable. But the problem now is because nobody has inventory. I can't see bike shops who might have those old models letting them go cheap because they don't have to. They can get full pop for those bikes still because people want to buy.
Yeah.
It's nuts right now. It's just completely insane right now, the market.
Yeah, it's hard to advise based on current situation. But again, what I would say is don't be in a rush, to buy something, but at the same time, don't sit on something that might be a good deal. And it's
So it's a
funny,
double-edged sword. If you
it
got a
comes
bike,
back.
if you want a new bike and you've got a bike to sell, now's the time to sell it. But it's everything's relative. You'll get more money for the bike you sell, but you're going to pay more money for the bike you buy because people aren't dealing because there's not a lot of quantity.
Well, and I think the other thing too is it might come into the underbiked overbike scenario where if you have an option to buy a bike, maybe it has much more travel or much less travel than you originally wanted going in.
Yeah.
Maybe change your mindset a little bit and think about getting that bike and enjoying that bike. And I think that's an important thing. Like if somebody is on a bike that maybe is a little bit shorter on travel than they would like, what are some things they could do? Could they run a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
agree.
more?
If your target is like a 140, 160 bike, that's what you were looking for, and you can't find that, then you might look to a 120, 140 or a 160, 170. And you might find that either of those will wind up suiting you, especially after what we just talked about with the whole overbike underbike. They're so efficient on both sides. What's possible has really widened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. And who knows what's going to happen? People with transition making a 120, 120 bike and as massive as it is. Like when I ride that bike, I'm stymied that it's 120, dude. It's
Well, and
just
I've not ridden,
realizing.
even my Mach 4 has a 130 mil fork on it. I've not
Yeah.
ridden anything, I don't think, with a 120 fork, and that's something that I would be a little apprehensive about. But
So, but you have the Fox.
yeah, Yeah.
right? Yeah. See, that's what's great about the Spur is it's got the SID 35 millimeter stanchions. They don't
Wow.
deflect, dude. They don't go
That's
anywhere.
that's pretty awesome.
It's rad. Yeah, dude. It's a super rad bike. So yeah. Yep. Yeah. Good news in the market. Contracts in about a year. So yeah, a lot of good bikes are coming, I think. Exciting times. Definitely exciting times. So we need to start getting to where we're wrapping this up, dude. 9:52. We have to keep it to an hour. That's also what we agreed is until we get deeper into this, we're not going to go Joe Rogan style and go three plus hours in. So, dude, we had 99 for a second. We're down to 95, but we got a lot of people, even though we had.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all.
We're going to try and get these things sorted out, and we'll give more advance notice. So Rob and I will both post on the Instagram when we're doing this. So we'll shoot for like a Wednesday, Thursday to try and do this, and keep your eyes open. So follow at the Rob Drew, at the Rich Drew. And it's funny. Roman's written a nuke proof and commensal. Keep riding, everybody. Keep riding. Flood the inbox of all these companies and let them know. I will be on some more bikes soon, some different bikes that you haven't seen. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully soon I can talk about that. But yeah, everybody very welcome for everybody saying thanks. It's cool. Like, you guys are welcome. We love it. We would love to see more people at the Ride Series. Definitely. We got them this weekend in Bentonville. We're going to be in a couple other places here soon. Dallas is just blowing up. We're going to be in Phoenix again. We're working right now on November, December. So we're going to get out back to Phoenix again, November, December. Probably going to hit a couple West Coast, maybe even Vegas. So if you're out there listening in those areas, then keep your eyes peeled to the rideseriesmtb.com, and we will get it going very soon. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm ready to get some sleep, wake up in the morning and get everything prepped. I did some organizing on the trailer.
Nice.
You'd be very proud, Rob, when you see it.
I wouldn't feel forced to tear it all out and repack
No,
it.
not at all. I'm very excited when I come out there. I think you're gonna be impressed. I'm trying to be strategic with my use of E-Track to get everything laid out well. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and gonna go ride in the morning as well. And
how did it go at Eureka? You said you were going to go down there and do some shuttle laps. How did that go?
I only got to do one lap. I went out there and hung out with, and I hope Jeremy is still on here because he was there. I went to hang out with a group called the Dirt Therapy Project. So really cool group of people from basically San Antonio, all throughout Texas. And it's just a group of vets, riding the bike to deal with some of the things.
That's a great treatment for PTSD, boy.
Yeah. It was just some awesome people, and Junk Brands hooked it up with some really cool American headbands, Americana ones. It was really cool. So to be able to go out and hang out, and it was fun. Yeah, Jeremy's on there. Jeremy came to the Ride Series clinic, and he did the 201, and then he did the jump session, and he never stopped, dude.
So I followed Jeremy on Instagram, and I saw his footage from.
Yeah, dude, he was just ripping over and over again. So great, dude. Great group. Everybody had a blast out there. And then I had to go and get back up, get ready to go to Kansas City for that event. So we'll get out there. We'll get you back out here sometime in November, December.
Can't wait to come.
Maybe we'll get the band back together for a clinic.
Some bagels, some
pizzas,
dude,
bagels, pizza,
some crepes.
Dude, they got a miso onyx shake, caramel miso. I'm so hungry for a shake.
I'll try it. I'm gonna
try it.
I'll give it a test drive.
I'm gonna try it. Okay, cool. Well, everybody on the comments or Instagram or something like that, shoot us some requests for what you want topics to be. So hit Rob on the Instagram, and thank you a couple weeks ago for everybody telling him that he should be on here. I asked everybody to do that. I said, get on Rob.
I got the message.
and tell him. So he got the messages. So we're making it happen, and it's only going to get better. Like
Uh,
I want to get like a really cool, like Joe Rogan, Howard Stern style background and everything like that, and the cool mic, so I could just sit here and talk to it and be like, "Yeah, bikes are rad, man."
Hey man, how you doing? Yeah.
Okay, I don't have anything else to say except this was rad. I really
Oh,
appreciate people watching. Oh, dude, look at you with your Chavez Brothers shirt on.
Chavez Brothers shirt, the latest
Represent.
release from Trail
So
Print.
there we go. I got the Archie Apparel shirt. So
Nice.
RD limited edition. You can pick this one up or pick it up at Archie Apparel. So yeah, maybe that'll be it. Every time we wear different shirts.
Okay.
I don't know. We got to figure out. Dude. We got to have a thing. And
Yeah,
you
we do
can't
have to
keep
have a
getting,
thing.
you can't keep getting caught up on the
Looking at
look at the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, everybody have a great night. Go out, spread some positivity tomorrow. Rob, go do some work tomorrow at the shop.
Lots of work.
Lots of work. All right, dude.
Try to get some more sleep for the next one.
Peace out.
Peace.
How do you finish it? Peace out.
I love everybody. I love you.